Welcome to today's webinar on SAP Invoice Controller. My name is Aleksandra Borucka. I'm the moderator of today's webinar. By my side, your expert and the one who will guide you through our webinar today, Dorota Widzińska. Hello, Dorota. Before we start, I want to give you some information. We have about 60 minutes for the webinar. The webinar recording and the slides will be sent to you after the webinar by email. If you have questions during the webinar, you can ask them in the navigation window on the right. The answers will be sent to you also after the webinar via email in the next few days. So I start with the idea of SNP, and as I said, Dorota will guide you through the main part of the webinar. Let's take a look at the SNP. Basically, we call ourselves the transformation company, which means our core business is the transformation of SAP-centric IT environments. We distinguish here ones from economic reasons, which can lead to changes in IT landscapes, and on the other hand, also IT-driven or technical causes which can play a role here. In other words, if we look at the economic reasons, these may be mergers, acquisitions, sales, spin-offs, general restructuring within the companies, or looking at the technical point of view, consolidations, harmonizations, or with regard to new technologies as for HANA as a database. Let's have a quick look at the world map. How are we positioned? We are originally from Germany. Our headquarters are located in Heidelberg. We have grown a lot in recent years. We have now over 1,400 employees all over the world. This is a big advantage for us because we can directly serve our customers over several time zones. For example, today's webinar we are running from Poland. Okay, now a quick look at our SNP transformation portfolio. We have here a new tool which I would like to introduce to you briefly, so-called Crystal Bridge. Crystal Bridge lies above the migration and the technical transformation and prepares you for upcoming projects that you are planning. Crystal Bridge also helps you to make and simulate important decisions, how to implement a particular project, and how to transform the system. Crystal Bridge graphs your SAP ERP environment, speeds up your business transformation, and of course minimizes costs and risks for you. You get easy to understand, intelligent and interactive recommendations, so you do not get long technical reports. It simply gives you a deeper understanding of your ERP landscape, and it simply changes your approach, for example, for mergers and acquisitions or upgrade projects. Here is a short list of our certifications and standards. I don't want to read out everything here. You can see that we are certified and also partnered in many ways, and our software approach is also certified, so we can take a closer look at it when you want to. That's it to the SNP and from my side. Now I would like to hand over to Dorota and hope you enjoy the further webinar. Thank you.
Good afternoon all. My name is Dorota Widzińska. I am SAP MM consultant in SAP SNP company. On a daily basis, I am responsible for implementation of SAP material management part. However, today I would like to present you SNP's solution, which is Invoice Controller. At the beginning of today's presentation, I will describe you area on which our solution is focusing, incoming invoices in SAP MM with organizational structure used. Next, I will show you main benefits of our tool, that is, why is it worth to implement our solution in your shared services centers. After that, I will focus on scalability, adjusting and development of the solution in reference to organizational structure of shared service center. In the next part of presentation, I will describe main elements of Invoice Controller, which are Invoice Monitor and Efficiency Report. I will focus on main functionalities of Invoice Monitor, content of Efficiency Report, and a way data essential for analysis is recorded in the system. Next, I will show you customizing of dedicated master data and integration with SAP environment necessary for Invoice Controller implementation in your shared services center. Let's start from material management process. For simplification, below schemas keep some optional points in the whole process. Purchasing process in material management starts with product demand, caused by, in example, production or sales demand. Knowing the demand, source of supply is indicated. Purchase order is created, which is transferred to the supplier. A vendor supplies needed products to indicated plant. Then, invoice is posted based on purchase order or goods received, and this is the point where invoice monitor starts working, analyzes time of invoice input from the first user's interaction with transaction until an invoice is actually posted in the system. When invoice is posted, it is ready for payment. Incoming invoice can be input manually or automatically into SAP. Invoice Controller uses both types within the analysis. Besides manual input, invoice can be posted via EDI or XML files. Also, automated processes can be used. For instance, invoicing planning or ERS, which is evaluated receipt settlement, or even a VIM solution where invoice is put in the system automatically based on scan of its paper version. Each of invoices is posted on company code level. Posting of invoice generates relevant postings on financial accounts, supplier account, and goods received, invoice received clearing account. Product's value is also updated in the background, as well as purchase order history, closing purchasing process from SAP MM perspective. Then, why is it worth to choose Invoice Controller solution at all? The main issue Shared Services Center face is to determine actual estimate of efficiency. It is caused by lack of essential data which Invoice Controller can actually provide, which are, for instance, in which company code there is the biggest traffic with invoice postings, or which employees can do complex and hard tasks, and which ones focus on easy cases. How much time is actually spent on invoice posting by employees, or whether a long time of invoice processing is really caused by its complexity. All of this data can be easily analyzed, including employee salary information or even administrative costs of shared service centers in indicated amounts. Shared services centers' efficiency can be evaluated based on more than 100 various indicators defined on 4 levels of company organizational structure, which are shared service center level, company code in shared service center level, employee level, and employee in indicated company code level. Additionally, employees' efficiency estimate is objective. Thanks to Invoice Controller solution, it is possible to classify invoices based on their complexity. For example, Invoice Controller distinguishes credit memos, standard invoices, invoices with default currency, invoices with foreign currency, or invoices with various tax values on invoices items. Also, Invoice Controller is able to detect unusual measurements, so it could be possible to reject records for which time, defined in minutes per company code, is exceeded. Also, unusual measurement is detected when master data for employee is missing or it's incomplete, without which further employee evaluation is not possible. As a result of Invoice Monitor analysis, there is a transparent report including cumulative records and indicators tables, for which automatically averages of analyzed period and summary are generated. In a report, there are also graphs, also generated automatically, which represents data presented in tables. Report can be displayed in Excel window in SAP, as well as it can be saved to the physical location in the hard disk. Summarizing, Invoice Controller allows to manage tasks optimally based on determination of in which company code and when there is the biggest traffic with incoming invoices postings. Invoices quota which should be put in the system manually can be dispensed between employees based on their efficiency result, so shared service centers' efficiency could be improved. To be able to fully describe scalability of our solution, first SAP organizational structure needs to be described. Client is independent unit of SAP system with own master data records and tables. From economical point of view, client could be, for instance, corporate group. On company code level, profit and losses balance are created. Within one client, more than one company codes could be created. Every of them can have separate accounting. From logistics point of view, there is also plant and storage locations determined. Many plants can be assigned to one company code. However, one plant can be assigned to exactly one company code. Analogically, more than one storage locations can be assigned to the plant. A plant itself could be, for example, a warehouse or a company branch. Thanks to the storage location, stocks could be distinguished within one plant. As I mentioned before, each invoice is posted on company code level. Because of that, it is not possible to the invoice controller to run analysis, for example, on particular plant to which invoice products were sent. Invoice controller solution is dependent on the client, which means that for every separate client, different analysis could be provided via invoice controller tool. Within one client, shared services centers are defined. Shared services center can represent separate company codes or could group some company codes into one shared service center. Or also this possible scenario is to create only one shared service center in the client, including all company codes in it. One of the main elements of the invoice controller solution is invoice monitor. Its main characteristics are time recording starting from first interaction with transaction and not from the transaction opening. This is the important thing. Until user takes first activity within the transaction, time will not be counted. As I mentioned before, invoices are classified based on their complexity level and types. Invoices with default or other currencies are detected. Credit memos or invoices with different tax codes specified in the various item lines. Invoice controller distinguishes invoices created via EDI or invoicing plans or the ones put in the system manually or automatically via ERS, for example. Invoice monitor could be set for particular company code, which allows to, for example, enable invoice monitor for not all company codes within one shared service center. It is also decided on the company code level whether unusual measurements should be traced. Invoice monitor uses efficient algorithms for data recording using aggregate mechanism. Aggregate mechanism ensures network load and database scale reduction. Algorithm checks if there is any data stored for user in the dedicated company code in analyzed period. In other words, whether employee has already posted any invoice in analyzed month. If so, monitor overrides data with its current status by updating chosen columns. For example, total invoices put, total invoices items, or time spent on working on the invoices itself. All other columns which are aligned with invoices data input are also updated by monitor during its work. If employee with analyzed month has never put any invoice within the system, record is defined as brand new and is created with key user company code year and month based on which data is stored in the table. Another main element of our solution is efficiency report, which analyzes stored data records and presents them on 4 levels of company structure. As I mentioned before, this is shared service center level, company code in shared service center level, employee level, and employee in indicated company code level. In the report, data records are shown as well as calculated monthly indicators. Legend, the key of used indicators, is presented with description of all used indicators in the report. During transaction performance, it is possible to add administrative cost of shared service center to the analysis. Before report is generated, cost needs to be provided by user in reference to each month of analyzed period. Report includes graphs generated automatically based on data records, calculated indicators, and their average values. For example, we can have graph of total invoices number in comparison to its average, or graph with time of data input in comparison to the shared service center average, for instance. Graph of average invoices number per one post, one employee actually. Average salary per 1,000 input invoices, or pie chart of employees' percentage participation in total invoices put in the system. Additionally, report can be displayed within Excel window in SAP or saved as a local file in the hard disk. Having report in separate Excel file enables to adjust it and use for further more detailed analysis. What is important, only displaying report in SAP Excel window does not allow to save it in local file. To save file separate, saving option needs to be chosen. After Invoice Controller is installed in the system, it is essential to customize dedicated master data. Customizing process needs to be started with shared service center definition and linking company codes to it. One company code can be assigned to exactly one shared service center. However, as I mentioned previously, one shared service center can consist of many company codes. Next step is to define working days per shared service center per month. After that, Invoice Monitor needs to be enabled within company code. Optionally, it is possible to enable detection of unusual measurement as well, providing time in minutes, after which record would be treated as unusual is mandatory. So in this case, for instance, if an employee starts working on the invoice, is starting processing the invoice, and for instance, the processing time is has already exceeded 10 minutes, SAP can treat it as unusual measurement that it's too long. So after this is specified, after that, employee master data needs to be provided, including user, SAP user, contract date, determining whether it's full-time employee or not, and providing salary info. Optionally, it is possible to specify absent days for our employee, which of course would be included in further analysis. Invoice Controller is easy to install. One transport is needed for whole solution package. Our tool works in the background during invoices processing without any effect on transaction efficiency. Invoice Controller uses the latest technologies for integration with SAP using bodies, which number is limited to the minimum to ensure the safety of the solution. Solution is also secured. Authorization roles used on various access levels are determined. Based on that, user which has access to the, for instance, employee master data can have no authorization displaying employee's salary, for example. In this case, column with salary information and salary values would simply not be visible for them. For Invoice Controller installation, SAP version 6 or higher is required. Invoice Controller is available in Polish and English. Now, let's start with actual examples in demo system. Let me go to SAP system. To display main menu of Invoice Controller, transaction tree, actually, comment, and not this one, comment visible on the screen needs to be put. This is the tree of possible transactions divided into three main sections: application customizing, employee master data, and efficiency analysis. Application customizing starts with shared service center definition within application configuration section, definition of SSC item. In this example, two shared service centers are defined within this client. For shared services center number 1, two company codes are linked. After change into edition mode via pencil, another line can be added. In this case, application checks automatically whether provided data is correct. As we can see, the empty value is not correct for shared service center or company code. So in case when data is incorrect, SAP will not allow to save such record. Brand new shared service center number 3 can be created by adding new company code. So for instance, number 3. And for company code searching, application uses SAP standards. So in this case, we can display all company codes available for that. Let's use the first one. After company code is chosen and shared service center description is provided, record can be saved. Now we have success and the settings saved to the database. The next customizing step is to specify monitor settings per company code, which actually can be also displayed from this level by simply clicking Display Application Settings, as you can see, or from Application Tree, in Application Configuration section, Monitor Settings per Company Code item. This is the one. As you can see, for company codes both monitor and unusual measurement detector has been enabled. This transaction works analogically to previous one. After changing into edition mode, we can add another row. So for instance, we'll add here company code which was assigned to shared service center seconds ago actually. So this one's, we'll use the same administrator of data. We'll enable the monitor, the unusual measurements, and for instance, we provide 10 minutes here. And now we can save the record. Also status. Another step of customizing is defining working days within shared service center. Choosing application configuration sector, application item work days, data per SSC. This transaction works exactly the same as previous ones. After changing into edition mode, another row can be added. Application suggests which shared service centers could be used. So for this case, we have 3 specified. We will choose the third one. We provide current year. So the year value needs to be provided, and after that, working days values automatically set as 0 per month, which needs to be changed accordingly to the requirements. 0 values itself are not incorrect in these working days. Imagine case when you are providing working days in 2018, as we do actually now. Working days before current month can be 0 because those values will not be monitored and those will not have any impact on the reported result. And now I will specify working days from October to December, so for instance 20. Now save and let's get back to transaction tree. There is also additional customizing dedicated only for employee individual report, in which it is to be defined which indicators should be used within that report. It is to be determined which from chosen indicators will be enabled in edit mode. Unsetting field enable for report indicator will not be displayed in the individual report. So for instance, if I unset this one, indicator P102 will not be included into the analysis. Also, it is possible to add another indicators for this list by simply clicking on New Entries. Here we have the full list of the indicators that could be used. So, for example, let's add P104 indicator. Of course, we want it to be enabled in the report, so we need to set this flag, and we need to save the record. Now we can see that this indicator has been added to our list. A necessary step for application working correctly is to define employee master data by choosing employee master data from the tree. Application starts with selection screen in which, based on SAP username, employee master data of shared service center could be selected. Having no values provided in selection screen, a list of all employees defined will be displayed. So for instance, if I will not provide any data here, SAP will show every master data for employee which has been created for Invoice Controller in this client. The employee master data here consists of shared service center information, where user is employed, contract dates, and work time information. Optionally, data with salary info is displayed. However, only if user has proper authorization, and this column is actually visible. This transaction also works as previous ones. After changing into edition mode, another row can be added or existing data can be adjusted. So for instance, we can change my contract here. Now we are saving the data. Also success. In the application tree, the transaction tree, there is also a transaction in which absence data of employee can be provided. Application starts with selection screen in which, based on SAP username, again, employee master data of shared service center is selected. Analogically, having no values provided in the selection screen list, a list of all employees defined will be displayed. In this case, for all employees defined for shared service center, only one has actually specified the absence. In this case, we can also add another row by changing it into edition mode. And for instance, let's say I will not be at work in the November for 5 days. And this information is also included into generated report for employee. The last and the most important sector of transaction tree is efficiency analysis. First of transaction is invoices measurements, where all data recorded with aggregate mechanism I mentioned before is stored. None of selection screen fields here is mandatory. Data record display can be limited based on employees, company code, year, and more. So the same here, if no selection is provided, all possible data will be displayed. Let's do that. What is important, those records cannot be edited. It's an input data used in efficiency reports, so it just cannot be amended by any user. From a report screen, unusual measurements can be displayed by clicking on Display without measurements here. However, let's get back to the transaction tree. To display unusual measurements by choosing it from the transaction tree itself. A selection screen is displayed. And again, none of selection screen fields here is mandatory. Unusual measurement display can be limited based on employee's company code, year, accounting document number. In case of automatic acceptation, I will get back and describe this one in a minute. So analogically, if no selection is provided, all possible data will be displayed. This report shows all unusual measurements detected in company code enabled in previous customizing. Application distinguishes two kinds of unusual measurements. The first one, where time of transaction editing exceeds the limit determined in customizing for company code. The second one is case that employee master data of user is traced in traced company code does not exist or just is simply incorrect or incomplete. The reason why the record has been described as unusual is specified in the last column comment. A report allows to accept unusual measurements manually. To do so, record needs to be selected, and then let me select, for instance, my invoice, and then check and accept selected button must be used. It will cause deletion of accepted record from the list. So now the invoice controller updated the list, and now we can see that the last invoice has been removed here and it was accepted, which means that this record will be included into further analysis. In case one user has incorrect employee master data or validity period is no longer valid, then all records for such employee could be identified as unusual measurements, as we can see, for instance, for trainer, this one. Employee master data can be updated from this report, actually, by simply clicking on Display and Adjust Expired Employees. New window appeared with list of all users with incomplete employee master data. To update employee master data automatically for dedicated user, it needs to be selected. So let's choose this one. And we need to just accept. Update of master data is made without updating information regarding salary. Also, what is important, validity period of a contract of such employee is limited only to minimal period in which acceptance of unusual measurements would be possible. Employee master data is created in the background and it can be displayed from transaction I've described previously. After correcting employee master data, unusual measurements assigned to such employee can be accepted by selecting those records. So let's use that. And again, we're clicking check and accept selected. Now we can see that all records for that user has been accepted and will be used in further analysis. In case when on selection screen at the beginning, this flag automatic acceptation was set, the system will automatically accept all unusual measurements for which employee master data was incorrect. Another two transaction efficiency report and employees efficiency report works analogically. From both reports, two-sequence screen would be displayed, allowing to display all information needed regarding shared service center efficiency analysis, with company codes distinguished as well in the report. The only difference between those two transactions is that efficiency report displays cumulated data of all employees per shared service center, and employees efficiency report display shared service center efficiency in reference to particular employees assigned to that unit. So after choosing section of efficiency analysis and choosing efficiency report, selection screen would be displayed. In this selection screen, shared service center and analysis period needs to be provided. Both parameters are mandatory. Before choosing execute, administrative data can be included into report. To do so, check fill administrative cost table, this one, needs to be set. Now, administrative cost needs to be provided for each month of the analysis, of the period analysis. Number of periods is dependent on what exact date we choose in the first selection screen. If a fill administrative cost check was not set, application would go directly to the report and no administrative cost would be included into analysis. A report will be displayed within two tables grouping all indicators in reference to analysis object. Higher table shows data relevant for all shared service centers divided into periods. Another table shows general indicators distinguished by company codes linked to such shared service center divided into periods as well. From efficiency report, it is possible to go directly to employee efficiency report by clicking simply on this button. Leaving selection criteria blank, application would display reports for all employees and company codes of a shared service center, providing in the current report. But we'll get back to this report in a minute. Let's get back to efficiency report itself. Except standard functions for reports provided in ALP technology, reports in Invoice Controller can be visualized in Excel. To display report in SAP window in Excel format, generate Excel file button needs to be used. And now, report in Excel format is generated automatically, where 4 spreadsheets are visible, 1 per analysis level. General SSC efficiency, General SSC company code efficiency, SSC employees efficiency, and employees per company code efficiency. In the spreadsheet General SSC efficiency, data record and indicators values are displayed in the main table. Additionally, under the table, key of use indicators is provided, including indicators descriptions. For example, indicator W01 is invoice in foreign currency items to all items at all. Average values are also provided, and they are used for further analysis and graphs. We have average values per shared services center here. Below graphs are generated automatically. For instance, there is graph showing total number of invoices in analyzed period in reference to average value, or for instance, indicator W04, which means invoices items provided manually to all invoices items per month in reference to average value of this indicator. And for instance, indicator P02 showing number of invoices items per one contract in analyzed period in reference to average value of that indicator. In the spreadsheet General SSC company code efficiency, data records are and indicators values are displayed per company code. Additionally, under that table, key of use indicators is provided, including their descriptions. Average values for company code are also provided, and they are used for further analysis and graphs. Also below graphs are generated automatically per company code. For instance, there is total invoice number per month in reference to the average value, or total invoices items number in reference to the average, or total time spent on invoice posting in reference to the average time. And in the spreadsheet SSC employees efficiency, data records and indicators values are displayed per employee now. Additionally, below, key of use indicators is provided, including their descriptions, of course. Average values for employee are also provided, and they are used for further analysis and graphs. And also below graphs are provided, for instance, average invoice number per employee, or average invoices item number per employee, average time spent on invoice processing per employee, or for instance, the pie charts showing percentage share of employees with total invoice number processed, or percentage share of employees with total invoice items number processed. The last spreadsheet in the report is employees per company code efficiency. Contains data records and indicators values which are displayed per employee in particular company code. Again, under this table, key of use indicators is provided. Also, average values for employee in specified company code are also provided, and they are used for further analysis. And below graphs were generated automatically as well. Average invoice number per employee in a company code, average invoices item number per company per company code for an employee, and average time spent on invoice processing per employee in a company code. What is important, displaying a report in this way makes it impossible to save such a report in a local file. To save this report in Excel on a hard drive, we need to get back to the transactional tree, provide proper selection criteria, and use Save Excel File button on the report screen itself. Then additional window will occur to determine where file should be saved, but we'll go to that point in just a second. So let's get back to the main tree. And now we will display employees efficiency report. In selection screen, shared service center data needs to be provided as well as analysis period. Employees list, company codes, and administrative costs are optional. And again, administrative cost functionality works exactly the same as in the previous report. So let's get another criteria here. Report will be displayed within two tables, grouping all indicators in reference to analysis object. The higher table shows data relevant for all shared services center divided into periods for employees. Another table shows general indicators distinguished by company codes linked to such shared service center for employees divided into periods as well. Each record has additional column with status where here, when green means no errors, obviously, the yellow, no unusual measurements detected. However, invoice with status different than the posted exists for such employee, which means that, for example, a user could open the transaction but not and save the invoice itself without posting it, so without making any postings on the accounts. So in this case, the user status would be yellow. And the red means that unusual measurements exist. So for instance, a user has been processing the invoice for too long, or its employee master data is not correct. Now we can see that in this report all employees has a green status, so all good. Last of provided reports is employee individual report. To display it, we need to choose it from the transaction tree. In a selection screen, shared service center needs to be provided, as well as validity date and employee information. Company code value is optional here. Again, let me change the criteria. Okay, so this report will be displayed as one table, grouping indicators in reference to analysis object. Table presents efficiency indicators for chosen employee divided into months. Except standard functions for reports provided by ALB technology, reports in Invoice Controller can be presented in Excel. To save this report in Excel on a hard drive, we need to use Save Excel file, this one. And we need to allow to save that file. And now the Excel file has been provided to indicated folder. Let's open it. No. Analogically, the previous reports table shows records and indicators calculated for specified employee in analyzed period. Average values are specified as well as key with indicators description. And what is important, in the report, only indicators specified in the customizing before are calculated, as I mentioned previously. In the graphs, you can see, for example, a comparison of our chosen employee with average employee of shared service center, for instance, total numbers of invoices input, or total invoice processing time in our month, our period. Also, there is presented employees' share with total invoices processed in the whole shared service center in analyzed period. Analogically, to display a report in SAP window in Excel format as we did previously, generate Excel file button needs to be used instead of saving the Excel file from the report level. And then report content would be displayed in the Excel file in SAP window. So from my point, that's it. Thank you very much for participating in today's webinar.
Thank you, Dorota, for the interesting presentation. As mentioned at the beginning, you will receive the presentation and the webinar recording by email. So thank you for your appearance, and of course to Dorota for the interesting presentation, and we wish you a pleasant day and nice week. Bye-bye.